Welcome to DTF Film Session number 30. We are here again to talk about tight ends, this one being Sam LaPorta out of Iowa. I'm Max Dean. You can find me on Twitter at TheMaxDean. You can find Shane Carter here at ShaneCarterTX on Twitter. And this is the fourth tight end that we are breaking down, different flavors across the board, right? We started off, we had Darnell Washington, freak athlete, great blocker. Then we moved to Michael Mayer, who's kind of pretty good at everything, then with perfect requisite size. Then you move to Dalton Kincaid, so big time athlete, deep threat, speed player, big play capability. And now we're on to Sam LaPorta, who, in my opinion, is actually the best all around tight end. After watching him, I do think he's a better all around tight end even
You've
than
seen
Michael.
the light.
He's good, dude. He's really good.
My
And
favorite tight end.
I think, he's a couple inches shorter than Michael Mayer, a little bit lighter. I'm not sure what his playing weight was, but he measured in at the combine at 245, 6'3". So I really think he does the everything best that people talk about Michael Mayer doing. And honestly, the size is really the only difference. But I'll take the size discrepancy, especially because he's measuring it close to 250. So, the 2 inches is great, but I'm gonna roll with the 2 inches less when I see the better production on the field. So, what is it about LaPorta that you really like? Because you've been talking about liking him. We haven't really had a chance to actually talk about why yet.
Tight end U does it again. They have this string of players coming out of Iowa. I don't understand why they can't find a quarterback, but they can find tight ends. In either case, Sam LaPorta is the next guy. He is, without a doubt, a developed run blocker, especially in that offense, that Bourne Bland offense. But what you like about him as a receiver is that when he has those chances to make plays, he takes advantage of them. He creates separation. He is maybe the best player after the catch and after contact of all the tight ends, just because he's hard to bring down despite being 6'3", 245. He plays much bigger. He's way stronger than that size might indicate. He actually, I don't know if I put him on the same blocking scale as your guy, Darnell Washington, but he's very, very good block, especially against the run. And for those that don't know, he ran the second fastest 40 in the combine. It's a 4.55, 5.6, something like that. So he's a lot faster than his tape would indicate. But it's what he does with the ball that makes him so dangerous. When he finally has a chance to actually be a receiver, he has his second gear that you don't often see in underdeveloped tight ends that he just makes because I think what it is in that offense, you're pigeonholed as a tight end to only get maybe 20 passes a year, which is unfortunate because they have so many great tight ends that come out of that program that you have to make the absolute most out of those passes that come to you. And he does it pretty much almost every time he has the ball. Even if it's like something small or something subtle, he just has this it factor about him that even though he is a little undersized, but I mean, to be fair, there have been undersized tight ends like a Jonnu Smith or like a Trey Burton who have been able to make really good long careers out of just doing the simple things like that so well, and even developing to Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, I think for him, he's an effective blocker. He's not Darnell Washington, but
Darnell's dominant.
nobody is. Nobody is, right? That you don't expect tight ends to come out of college blocking like that. You just don't. This is what you hope for when we talk about high picks at the tight end position as blockers, especially. I mean, if they're also a receiver, if you're drafted as a blocking tight end exclusively, you want a little more than this. But if this is what you have as your secondary asset, I think we're talking about a really good player here. So for me, the blocking is better than I think even Mayer, but the athleticism might not be quite as great as Kincaid, but the route running and the spatial awareness, I think he is the best at it, which is really how I expect guys to win at the next level where everybody else is a better athlete. And, he was really kind of the only threat here at Iowa. So he doesn't really have anyone to take the pressure off. So let's jump into it here and actually get to see what we've been fawning over for the past 5 minutes or so.
And at the end of the show, I want to talk about my I finished my top 10 tight end rankings. I don't want to go the entire list, but I can tell you where he finished up at the end of the show.
Okay. So he's in the slot essentially here off the line. All right. So everything about this is kind of a little angle route, right?
Yep.
A little Texas route.
Yep.
Everything about this is going to work at the next level. First of all, I love this route for anybody coming out of the backfield. If you're good at running it,
look at that hard step.
Yeah.
And also that hard step made his coverage guy overcompensate and run into the other Iowa receiver. So you kind of put his team under the bus on that one a little bit.
But you know what? I'm fine with it because
there's no one there.
Yeah, because he's not open, right? Like he's open now if he was running a go route, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's running an out-breaking route and he's locked up. But the one thing that I would love is for him to keep his feet a little better on this play. Like he doesn't fall, but I'd like the balance to be a little bit better. But we're nitpicking here because this hard step, that's the hard sell that I'm looking for.
That over-exaggeration, yeah. And it has all that space, too. And you're about to see, as soon as even though his coverage guy is able to recoup his way towards him, he's able to keep enough balance and he has enough speed after the catch to still get some yardage upfield, even once contact's been made.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. Love this dig, and it's over. It's over right there. On that dig, it's over.
So he gives the little hesitation. It's a hesitation right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the defender who's covering him is not sure what he's going to do. So you give the hesitation, you freeze the defender, and then hard sell. So from their freeze, they have to overcommit, and then you strike. And so the ball is not like perfect. I mean, it's well placed enough. He's got to lean a little bit for it, but that's why I'd like to say, catch it without stumbling a little bit there, but good enough balance to keep his feet and gain again another 20 yards after that. 25, 30.
No, it's a great play.
And again, it's not just highlights here because that exact rep is something that you expect to recreate at the next level. All right. So this is effectively setting the edge to me. Now, do you hold it for a long time? No. But the thing with Kincaid is that, you're against a much smaller player and that player kind of discards you. This is against a much bigger player than you and he gets beyond you. But if the rest of this play was effective, it's too late for the edge player to do anything. So is it incredible? No, but it's viable. And that's that viability is, I think, what you need if you're going to expect the guy to come in and be a reasonable blocker just to start things off.
To me, the most important thing that went down with this play was timing. He had to get there at a certain time to not run in contact with the quarterback who's about to hand the ball off, and he gets there right on time to stop him from getting to the running back. It's all about time, and he gets there just enough time. Like you said, not the greatest block, but he does just enough to land the effective wall on him to allow the running back to get what he needs to get done. It's just unfortunate that the offensive line couldn't get their jobs done because there's a hole right there between the center and the guard it just disappears.
So with Mayer, Mayer does a better job of squaring up, and dropping hips and going in with your punch for sure. But I think the base is better and the effectiveness is actually better from Kincaid. From LaPorta here. So there are aspects that Mayer is better at, but I think that overall effectiveness is better. And he'll have to clean it up a little bit. Like some coaching will definitely help him to say, okay, you're coming across, get that punch inside. You know what I mean? Because you can hold that for longer.
Yeah, and the best edges in the NFL will throw him off that block.
Yes.
If you try doing that up against like a Micah Parsons or a Nick Bosa or a TJ Watt, the best guys will recognize you're doing that and they'll throw you off your block.
Right. This is functional strength, and we just need to see some refinement there.
Right.
All right. So he's slot left on the line, scrimmage. So this is what I was talking about. I love this rep, so I'll let it play out because he even gets some run after the catch there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. So he doesn't sell anything until here. It's the hesitation. It's these really subtle hesitations that he has in his game. Right here, hesitation. Mm-hmm. So the DB doesn't know whether to flip his hips properly or not. And then go. And so right when he's a little off balance, then you use your strength, your strength advantage, and you run right at him. And so he doesn't push him. There's a little hand fighting there. He falls over just because of the route. Yep. I love this route.
No, I do too. I think this might exemplify who he is as a receiver because, like we talked about, like in Iowa's offense, he won't get many opportunities to actually be able to go downfield. But in this case, it's like you said, it's another one of those like slight digs because we saw that first play when he ran the angle route, he did a huge dig, and then the play was over right then and there. This one was a slight turn, and the DB was already off balance just because he's backing up. And LaPorta uses his leverage on that because he keeps himself like not too far over, not too far upright to cut outside, and there's no one there. And I talked earlier in the show how he's just probably the best player with the ball in his hands after the catch. This might be the best play to exemplify why, even better than that first one, just because he's down the seam.
Right. So right around the 35 here. So he gets off the line. He does have the slight false step. Gets off the line right around the 35. His shoulders rise like he's about to make a cut, and then he drives on the defender, and then makes a cut, and then makes a guy miss down the field. Keeps his feet up. One guy miss. There was a stiff arm, which I think might have been on his original coverage player. So this is just like adding insult to injury at this point.
So he had two chances to bring him down and couldn't do it.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite plays from him, and it's one of the plays that I fell in love with because that is a nuance to route running that I don't know if you can coach that. I don't think you can, at least not to the point where it can become a strength of your game the way it already appears to be for him. Mm-hmm. So I just have high hopes for him.
There's a nice feel of the game that goes along with his play style.
Mm-hmm. Similar here. So he's not getting the ball here on this fade, but
that hesitation step.
Yeah.
It causes the DB to have to stand still just to see what he does. And because his feet are so quick, he has enough separation that if the quarterback wanted to toss it over his head, he has enough distance between them to make a play on the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he knows it's open. Hands up.
Mm-hmm.
No.
He's got the room.
So it's I assume that this is just an option, right? So he doesn't know if the ball's getting handed off or not. I don't think you throw the hand up if you're a decoy, I don't think you throw the hand up, right? Like that's too much. So, but yeah, it just comes up and stays square, right? So he hasn't given him inside or outside leverage yet at this point. So he stays square. He's aware of that hesitation. And then even though he drops the outside leg right here, he's just too quick. All right, I think we have one more play after this.
That's a better job of setting the edge.
Yep. Get your hands in there. So he's actually in line here, I believe. And comes off. This is an odd front. Good timing. We'll see it better from the other angle, actually.
I like it. He's got his hands inside. He's got his body square to the edge.
Mm-hmm.
He pushes him away from the play. All you need in this kind of block is 2 seconds, because by that point the running back should be well away from where you are, and he's already got him one.
So the hands are a little, I feel like a little late, but he kicks out, stays square, doesn't reach. The punch could come a little bit earlier, like you could see, especially with the length that this edge player has. He gets hands on first, and that makes it tough. But it's functional strength, and it's just long enough. All right, so we do have another play here. Cool.
So that time he's the lead edge blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he unless I saw wrong, he kind of had a little cheat step, just because on that outside leg. Now you can tell the edge getting frustrated because he tries to sling him there because he knows he's got that one. He's driving him too. He's pushing him away from this play. And like I said, like he ain't gonna be the Darnell Washington kind of blockers, but he has that strength once he's latched onto you, and he has the footwork, like not only as a receiver, as a blocker, that makes him kind of dangerous, even as an outside edge setter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, the timing aspect in terms of the footwork is really good. I mean, you look at that; he's pretty in sync with the line.
He's staying low too.
Stays low. The punch timing's a little better. He still gives up first contact, but I like that he doesn't come in wrapping you from the outside. He gets his hands underneath, and then
the running back's free.
Yeah. Yep. So this is what I'm saying about him being better than Michael Mayer. This is Illinois, by the way, right? I mean, I'm not telling you because you don't know. I'm just pointing out the fact that this is a very physical defense. So this is not like some Pac-12 defense or sorry to anyone out there, but some Big 12 defense that he's pushing around out there. Like, this is a Big 10 defense that's known for its physicality. That has a number of high picks coming out this year.
Oh yeah,
or hard-nosed players. So I like the situation that he came up in. Iowa makes, like, they get their tight ends ready to go in the pros. I'm having a hard time convincing myself that he should be anything other than tight end 2. Washington, I love. He has a absolutely dominant trait that I rely on, and then you look at the athleticism. I expect him to be a good receiver at the next level, maybe with a specific role, but he will have production. Kincaid, crazy athlete, big playability, but I don't think he's gonna be a 1,000-yard receiver. I think, he might be in an offense that force feeds him the ball, and he'll have some production early, but he doesn't really bring anything to you in the run game, or blocking just in general. And then Mayer is good at kind of everything, but I honestly think that everything Mayer is good at, LaPorta is a little bit better at, and he just has this better, like, understanding of space when he's one-on-one against a coverage player that it gets me really excited. So that's why he's my number 2 guy.
He's my number 2 guy also, only just because when it comes to those 4 guys you mentioned, with him in Washington is the better blocker. Everyone knows that. He's the best blocker of all the tight ends in the draft. But, SLP is still very much an effective blocker. He gets there in time. He gets his hands inside. He knows how to use leverage. When it comes to Kincaid, he is not the downfield threat that Kincaid is, but Kincaid is probably the best downfield threat in all the tight ends in the draft. Mayer, to me, is the one that does everything, like you said, everything right. He's an effective blocker, a good receiver. He's definitely, of all the tight ends, I think the one thing he's definitely the best at, he's the best in one-on-one situations as a receiver. I think he might be the best when tied up in coverage and he has to make a play on the ball. That's what I think Mayer might be the best thing at. But Sam LaPorta might be better, if not just as good as Michael Mayer, after the catch. Both of them have shown the ability that with the ball in their hands, they can make plays after the catch. And SLP is actually faster. He timed, I think, a tenth or a little more than a tenth of a second faster in the 40, for what that's worth. I take the 40 with a grain of salt, even though it's kind of fun to think about just because that's their top end speed. I think Mayer's a better first level separator. I think SLP, his best separation comes at the second level, at least from like the players that I've seen. SLP to me is kind of Michael Mayer light. I think SLP is the best combination of receiving and run blocking of all the tight ends. I just think Michael Mayer has a higher upside. If all these tight ends reach their highest potential, I think to me Michael Mayer would probably have a higher potential than Sam LaPorta. But Sam LaPorta is just so impressive as a blocker and as a receiver, despite the fact that he is a little undersized. He doesn't have the receiving pedigree of a Kincaid or even a Musgrave out of Oregon State, but he does everything right the same way Mayer does, just maybe not to the same kind of upside that we see from the kid from Notre Dame. That's why he's my tight end too.
Yeah, for me, the size helps Mayer. It does, and I think it's close. I don't think there's a huge difference between these guys, and I think if you look at Mayer versus Kincaid, that's really just about what offense do you run?
That's preference.
And where do you have a fit for this player versus this player, right? So, I think Mayer is, kind of better overall, obviously. But if you have a real good role for Kincaid, then it's kind of an obvious choice.
I think SLP is. I have a second round grade on him. I think you said you have a second round grade on him too. I think he's gonna go in the fourth. That's what's so crazy about him. He's that good, but he's gonna fall. He's gonna fall.
I don't think so.
It's a deep tight end class. That's what happens with deep classes. It's a deep cornerback draft. It's a deep edge draft. And it's a deep running back draft. And it's a deep tight end draft. And the best players that would normally go first or second round are going to fall to like third, fourth round. Sometimes fifth round, you're going to find starters.
We'll see. Honestly, I'd be pretty surprised if LaPorta makes it out of the second round. He might go late in the second, but there's too much good here. I really do think so. I think so. Realistically, if we've got two tight ends in the top 50, right? Just say that happens. If Mayer actually goes in the first round, like a lot of people say, then I think everyone might feel differently about Washington. But I believe that there's going to be some team who's going to see that athletic upside and be like, we're going to spend a top 50 pick because this is guy as a ready day one blocker for us. So, like, let's say we got two guys in the top 50. What if you are we going to make it another 25 picks before somebody needs a tight end?
Well, I think some people are going to have Luke Musgraves out of Oregon State taken higher just because he had a little more size, and he's also a vertical threat. He's sort of like a taller, I would say not as well defined blocker that Sam LaPorta is, but we're at an era in the NFL where if you're a tight end, you got to be able to play also on inline and in the slot and be an effective receiver. And those receiving tight ends are coveted, and because Musgrave is just like maybe the best athlete. It's kind of like it's like I said, it's kind of like pick your poison there. He might go above SLP. Some people might even have Kraft, the tight end out of South Dakota State, ranked higher than SLP. I don't, but I know some people would probably have him ranked higher than that. And it's just a deep tight end class, and we've seen those guys fall, just because teams are like, oh, even though I like, let's say I'm picking at 20, I like Darnell Washington, but I want a receiving tight end right out the gate, so I can afford to wait and get one of these guys in the second round that I know is a better receiver right away. That's just giving the mindset of them. We see players fall every single year. That's one of the fun things about the draft. It ain't an exact science. It's very much, you do your research, you make your guesses, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. The only people that get fired for this are the GMs and the scouts.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, honestly, I'm really excited to see how teams value these tight ends specifically. Um, I think there are a bunch of teams that need tight ends for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before on the podcast about how there just aren't that many difference-making tight ends out there. There's a few more than linebacker, but there's not that many big-time difference-making tight ends. And so I think Kincaid has the opportunity to become one. I think Washington has the opportunity to become one. I think LaPorta and Mayer have the opportunity to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they'll be the guys who will win you playoff games and help you go to the Super Bowl. Whereas I think the other two guys could be
Mm-hmm.
due to potentially dominant traits.
Sure.
So I'm curious to see which teams value those potentially dominant traits, which, how high does each one go? I mean, I've talked about Washington so much. I think he's one of the best players in the draft, personally, just like regardless of position. But it's just where do you value that quality, right?
Mm-hmm. Good.
So we'll see. But so just as we close this out, right? This is going to be the last tight end we do before the draft. If you're picking for any particular team, where are you willing to invest picks in these guys? Just so that it's kind of on the record.
I myself don't normally touch a tight end until round 3, just because I'm aware that it is the position that takes the longest to develop. And if I'm picking you with a top 100 pick, first, second round, sometimes third round, depending on where you are in that, I'm expecting you to be a year 1 contributor, so maybe even a starter. And tight ends usually in year 1 are the tight end 2 or 3 who will come in and play in 12 personnel, 13 personnel, sometimes play special teams.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I have a tight end like with an upside of someone like Michael Mayer or Darnell Washington, whoever it is, I know that to come out the gate, they're going to be a niche player until they fully develop to their full potential. I think a lot of these tight ends can end up being Pro Bowl type tight ends. I think a lot of them can end up being, like, if they reach their potential, really, really good players in the NFL. But I myself this is just my personal philosophy. This ain't like, this ain't like a set rule that I won't touch a tight end until round 3, just because I'm aware that once you get to the 3rd, 4th round, you can still find contributors, but you won't necessarily find year 1 starters right away. You want to start finding guys you can develop into players down the road. Your first and second round picks, you want guys who can be either starters or heavy rotational type players right out the gate. And tight ends typically don't do that right away.
Yeah, it's true. All right. That's going to do it for us today. You can find me on Twitter at the.
Oh, wait. I told you I gotta give you my finish top 10 tight ends for the draft. I finished my rankings, and I'm just curious. I'll go quickly because I want to see if you agree with it or not. And I'll go 10-1. So Josh Wiley from Cincinnati is number 10. I think he's a decent blocker. He's upside as a receiver, but he needs a lot of refinement. Like Zach Kuntz from Old Dominion. I think he's an athletic freak, 6'7", 240, but he's kind of the anti Darnell Washington. He needs to be a better blocker, but he's a great athlete. Cameron Latu from Alabama, defined route runner, didn't get a lot of opportunities. Solid run blocker, but he does everything well, but on a lower level. Tyler Kraft from South Dakota State actually has a lot of ability after the catch as a receiver, which I kind of like. But again, it's against FCS opponents, so you have to take that one as a traits player more than anything else. I like Musgraves from Oregon State, mostly just because he does have like that really intriguing receiving ability to be potentially one of those really good slot tight ends. I do wonder how he'll go up against top edges at the next level, because like you said, they play the Pac-12, so you don't see a whole lot of those high quality defensive ends all the time. Dalton Kincaid, my tight end 4, we talked about the last time. I love him as a vertical threat. I think he needs refinement as a blocker. Darnell Washington, your guy, the best blocking tight end I've seen in this draft. If he can learn how to be a receiver, he will be unstoppable. You cannot be 6'7", 250, block like a tackle, and be an effective receiver like that and not be just an amazing player. Sam LaPorta, our guy we just talked about, he is to me his tight end too because he is Michael Mayer light. He does everything well, but maybe not to the same upside that Michael Mayer may have. And Michael Mayer, as we talked about, is my tight end one.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't watched all these guys, right? I come to the process so late that because again, I focus on the playoffs and NFL free agency, and then
I forgot to say Luke Schumacher from Michigan is my seventh tight end.
So okay. So I watch these guys late, right? And so I especially like I would watch more, but because I'm taking the time to do all these breakdowns, right, I'm really focusing. I'm taking what's essentially the consensus top 50 and doing breakdowns, and then organizing my top guys within that. And then right before the draft, I'll try and get in a few more guys, and then I will do it like after the fact as well, just to kind of see, have the best understanding of the players coming into the league that I possibly can. Next year, I'm going to see if I can't start the process a little earlier, but it's really just about available time. So I don't have all those tight ends in my back pocket. I've only watched just the 4 that we've talked about here on our breakdowns. And for me, like I said, it's Washington, LaPorta, and then
the best way to do it is to start with seniors because they're going to the draft, and then wait for other people to declare, so you don't waste your time watching film on guys who just decided to come back. I made that mistake.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I will probably do some summer scouting this year as well, just for guys. So, guys that I expect to come out. But there's some certain guys that we can just get a head start on, like Brock Bowers. There's no way that he's going to go back to school. I think he's coming out. But all right, so that will do it for us today. You can find me on Twitter at @TheMaxine. You can find Shane at ShaneCarterTX on Twitter. You can find Defiant Takes Football at Defiant Takes on all social media outlets, and of course, all of our written work over at DefiantTakesFootball.com. Now, you can find all of our film breakdowns right here on the channel. So if you don't find this until after the draft, we might have even another player that your team drafted. So take a look, check it out. If you want to get updated on who is now on your favorite roster. So, and also potentially division rivals too. You got to know who you're going to have to beat up on. All right. Appreciate y'all, and we will be back very soon.
Peace.